Hello. Today I want to tell you about a new book that I've just published. Actually, its official release date is tomorrow. Yippee! I'll be shipping out all of the advance orders. Actually, Jamie will be doing that. This book's real special to me. Actually, every book I publish is, but this one perhaps more than some because it is material that I've used for a good 40 years in my teaching. Very successfully, I might add. And I just now finally gotten around to writing it all down. It's 88 pages, and the book is called Scale and Arpeggio Practice for Electric Bass. This is all of the stuff that I have used for about the last, about 40 years, used in teaching the cycle of fourths, all the patterns and things that we've played over it. Now, of course, some of them are just up and down the scale and arpeggio, but there's some interesting little patterns in there too. And of course, there's a play along for every freaking example. Free play along downloadable. It's a powerful bit of material for me because the value of the cycle of fourths. Oh my goodness. I almost can't explain it. I mean, I can, but I need my bass or you with your bass in hand and show it to you. But let me tell you about it. Years and years and years ago, I wanted to, sort of figure out a methodology for teaching technique on the instrument. And there are tons of methodologies out there. Actually, so many of them aren't methods, quite frankly. They're just a whole collection of notes. Kind of like bad reading material, just read anything. Well, yeah, I guess that'll work, but it's better if the stuff that you're reading is written specifically to challenge you in certain areas. Well, so it is with technique. As a jazz player, I recognize the power of the forward movement of the fourth real quickly because that's 2-5-1. And I know a lot of people say circle of fifths. Well, that's fine. Don't get hung up on semantics. But I often say to students, you ever play a song that's got a big fat E chord? Well, guess what the next one is? Up a fourth to A. You betcha. And then for you jazz players, you ever play a 2-5-1? Well, D minor going to G's up a fourth, and G minor to C's up a fourth. Now, again, you can call them down a fifth, but it's the same movement. So I recognized that was such a common movement in all of our music, that movement of a fourth and chords. And then I wanted to practice scales and arpeggios and teach my students. So I simply I started by playing them up by half steps on the fingerboard. And that was kind of cool, but it just sort of seemed like I was just, copying what I did one measure to the next. When I started playing the cycle of fourths, I had to think a little bit and learn the fingerboard. Jumping around all over the fingerboard going up. So I started using a little methodology where we started all the scales on the A string. And that required that you shift, of course, and also you start to learn where those notes are on the bass. Rob Gourlay and I, teach a lot of the cycle of fourth stuff in the bass workouts, and it's always funny. The guy comes over and goes, sure, I can do that, and C major scale, and that's fine, and F major scale, well, that's all right, and B flat, they're like, oh, shoot, where's that? And then E flat, and they're lost. Not always, but that's the case often. So the cycle of fourths has helped. It helped me, and helps me teach people learning the fingerboard, learning the shifts. Oh my goodness, that distance of shifting. And by the way, interesting, isn't it? If you go on the cycle of fourths, starting everything on the A string, the distance from one root to the next is the same amount of frets. But of course, because of the way our fingerboard is shaped and the frets get smaller going up, the actual distance is a little bit different. But like anything else, with a whole bunch of physical repetition, you start to learn to feel those distances. I've described it sometimes like when Kobe Bryant runs down the court and shoots a 20-foot basketball, makes a basket. He doesn't calculate how many steps and how high he's got to jump and how much pressure he's got to use in his arm. No, he just has that feel because he's done it so many times, and he does it over and over. So if you play that cycle of fourths a ton with the play along, that's vital, a ton, you start to feel that distance, even though they're, each one is a little bit different. But over time, you start to recognize recognize with your mind. It's not a conscious thing. It becomes a muscle memory and you start to feel it. So that power of playing the cycle of fourths on electric bass, boy, that got me going. Then I got a ton of my students going too. And I have guys ask all the time, and I've made videos forever, and I teach it all the time doing online, but people are always saying, hey, Jim, can you write that down for me? They say, can you give me tab? Actually, that's what a bunch of them do. And I say, no tab. But I decided to write it in a book here. So Scale and Arpeggio Practice for Electric Bass is now for sale. Yee-haw. You can go on my website. Just go to, stinetmusic.com, and you'll find the bookstore and find the book. Maybe I better say a couple more things about it. I've had endless students, I don't want to say doubt it, but start it and go, well, this is kind of dumb or this is too hard. And they couldn't sort of figure out why we're doing the same thing over and over. And without exception, every student of mine I've ever seen who got serious about playing the cycle a lot really started to master their instrument, gain a lot of technique, and start to feel comfortable. What is enough? I don't know. I have one student who says 300 times is not a lot. Well, he's now advanced a couple of years, and I think now he's going, 3,000 times is not a lot. How about just with the cycle of fourths, you just play the little tracks? That's one of the things I do. I say, just push play, because the tracks that I've got there, by the way, there's downloadable tracks for every single example in the new book. They're for free. Most of the tracks are about 5 minutes long. So just push play and there's your 5-minute practice routine. I don't know how many times do it over and over. You got 15 minutes to practice? Well, just push play 3 times. Do the major, do the minor, and do the dominant. You got 30 minutes to practice? Guess what? You can do 6 of those little 5-minuters, can't you? Sure, you want to practice for an hour? Well, what is that? 5 minutes for an hour? Oh my God, I can't add it up. I think that's 20, isn't it? Something like that. I don't think it is. But anyway, the point is the repetition of the cycle. How about this? I know a bunch of my students who practice cycle for a few years, an hour a day. Genuinely, an hour a day. And I know there's people who say, oh my God, Jim, that's just so repetitious. I'm boring. I don't know if I could ever do that. Well, I don't know if you can either. Actually, I know it's possible, but I don't know if you can. And, and if you think like that's just too much, well, you just go ahead and try it for a couple of weeks and then tell me. Haven't you noticed that the people who, what's that old saying? Those people that say something can't be done should never get in the way of those people that are doing it. Well, those people who've never played the cycle an hour a day for 30 days shouldn't be telling me how it's not worth it. I've got lots of students who'll argue with you about that, and I've seen the proof of it. We're getting ready to, 2 days from now, have our normal January base workout, and we'll have guys in here, and I guarantee you we'll be playing a whole bunch of cycle. It's great fun. So anyway, this is just a little promotion on the new book, Scale and Arpeggio Practice for Electric Bass, and kind of it's the cycle book. So Tom and a couple other guys who asked me, Jim, when are you going to do a cycle book? Well, it's been done, okay? So there it is. Fire it up. Practice a whole bunch. By the way, an hour a day is not a lot. Good on you.